Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Guy. This is Guy Talk Sports. Thank you for clicking on this video, giving it a chance. I have been out a couple weeks, been really busy. Clearly no time to get a haircut or shave my beard, but in this video, there's so many things to talk about that's happened over the last couple weeks. In this video specifically, I'm solely going to be focusing on the game that happened yesterday, as well as briefly review the Kentucky game, and then I'll do another video later in the week, hopefully probably Wednesday. That'll be after the playoff rankings come out, as well as and then I'll be able to do like a big preview for the Georgia game coming up, because there's a lot to talk about, specifically to do with the SEC race, playoff race. There's a lot going on. Before we do anything, though, real quick, there's going to be timestamps down in the description. If you want to jump ahead to any part of the video, just look down in the description. You can click on whatever part of the video you want to look at. Before we get into anything, though, if you don't mind, down below this screen, go ahead, hit that subscribe button for me. Help me continue to grow this channel. Let's talk about these last two games. So real quick, I want to review the Kentucky game. It happened a couple weeks ago. I guess just about 8 days ago, actually. Really just want to do a quick review of it. First half was continued. I thought Nico looked super sharp. Kind of continued from that second half performance he put up against Bama. Played really well the whole game. Unfortunately, his wide receivers stopped catching the ball. There were two touchdowns specifically that I can think of. With Brazel and then Chaz Nimrod. Both of them were definite touchdowns. And then you had Kitzelman, who caught one, and then he got popped right when he was catching it. So I don't really put it on him too much. You still like to see him catch it, but I'm not going to get after somebody to get, the helmet went right at the ball. So Kentucky ran the ball really well. They definitely came to play. So, for sure, give them credit. But, like I said, first half was continued. You fumble, and then really you have all these missed field goals from Gilbert that you really haven't seen from him all year. I think he was perfect from within 50 all year. The two misses he had against Bama were 50 plus, and then the one he had earlier, I can't remember who it was against, but it was a 50 plus, and so he hadn't missed anything inside the 50, or I guess inside the 40, and missed all three of them, and one he kind of pushed to the right, then he overcorrected, again, and that last one definitely was in his head. So you end up winning 28-18. Should have won by 19. Those field goals should have been made. Should have been at minimum. You're looking at a 37-18 game, and that looks a little different than 28-18. That game shouldn't have been as close as it was. You had Sampson continue to play great, other than the fumble, which we'll talk more about later for the Mississippi State game. But Nico really starting to turn the corner, really developing into a really solid quarterback. After he had his ups and downs when SEC play first started, but you still got the win. It wasn't the prettiest win by any means. 28-18 against Kentucky is not a pretty win, but you still got the win, and that's really what's important. That's really all I got to say about that game. I don't really want to focus on that too much. So let's move on to the Mississippi State game, right? So I think Tennessee fans need to take a collective deep breath with me, because like everyone else, it's halftime. I'm thinking, okay, games. I think the game's over. It's 20-7. Nico's looking sharp. We still had a fumble and all that, but you're up 20-7, and then bam, out comes Gaston Moore. No Nico, and I was freaking out because and I think it surprised everybody because at no point in the first half did you think, well, what's going on with Nico? Why is he hurt? Why is he in the tent? You really didn't see anything, and then all of a sudden ruled out. For the rest of the game, very concerning. For him, again, this is all speculation, but from everything I gather, he should be good to go for the Georgia game. I think Heupel, he commented that it was really more precautionary. It wasn't season-ending thing or anything. From everything else I've heard, he wasn't wearing a sling or anything on his shoulder or wrist, no brace or anything, and he had a towel draped over his head. So multiple people have done everything but specifically call it a concussion. Again, it's pure speculation. It could be something completely different, but from everything that I've seen, he should be good to go for the Georgia game, or that's the hope anyway. So wishing him a speedy recovery, because the offense definitely looks different. But I will say this with Gaston Moore. He came out slinging. He's not afraid to sling it. But let's first look at the first half. Definitely had a quicker start. Like I said, we went up, scored 20 points in the first half. Really should have been probably 34 in the first half. Still just getting in our own way on the offense, just tripping over our own feet. Like Dylan Sampson, for the third game in a row, fumbled again in the red zone, and it's just he's having statistically the greatest season in Tennessee football history. I guess, yardage, he still has a little bit of ways to go, but then one of the best seasons running the ball in Tennessee history. And he fumbled again, and that has got to stop. It's never been a problem with him in his entire career, so I don't know what's going on with him in that. And so he's out, so Boo Carter, who had an amazing game, gets the interception just a couple plays later. You're thinking, okay, awesome. We get set up, sitting pretty there in the red zone, and they put Peyton Lewis in, which I understand. Sampson just fumbled, but I really, as much as they ran Dylan Sampson, I still wish they would have put him right back in, because, it's 4th and 1 at the 1. And not that Peyton Lewis is a bad running back. I think Peyton Lewis is going to be a great running back for us. But, they put that big package in, and from everything I remember, I don't think we've been stopped one time with Dylan Sampson in on that package. He just is able to see the hole and hit it so hard that we always, convert. And I think with Peyton Lewis, a little less overall experience, and you end up getting stopped. And I think Peyton Lewis absolutely could convert it, but I think I also, root for Dylan Sampson, because I want him to score as many touchdowns as possible, because I think he needs to be in the Heisman race, and we'll talk about that too. But, ended up getting stopped there. So you fumble, get stopped on 4th and 1 at the goal line, and, you leave 2 touchdowns on the field. You leave 14 points on the field. So, you say you go up 34-7 at half. You feel a lot differently about that second half when Nico's sitting. I think everybody was sweating it. It's just 13 points, and you have a defense that hasn't given up more than 19 the entire year, and so you're expecting to get to ride that, and then they did, and everybody played up to the defense. Played well, did what they're supposed to. Running game really shined. So, but first half, again, it's better. It's one of those things where I keep hearing people talking like, well, I'm not ready to call this team. They are what they are, because I feel like you're still seeing these incremental, positive increases in efficiency in the offense and scoring points. It was 0 for 3 games in the first half, and then it's 7 against Kentucky, and then all of a sudden 20 against Mississippi State, and you just hope the offense can continue, because in the second half they're doing great, but for whatever reason the first half they just can't put it all together. It's a hold, or it's a drop pass, it was an overthrow, it's a fumble. And Nico, I think he's finally turning the corner. I think he's finally starting to play up to his potential. This is only his 8th or 9th game played, and so you knew he was going to keep getting better. Dylan Sampson's been a workhorse, and you can see all the potential in this offense. And so I'm still not ready to call them that they are what they are, even though they're week whatever. We're 8-1, but you can still see so many points left on the field, and if they could just have one game where it clicked, I wouldn't want to be the team playing against them when everything clicks for this team. So I still have hope that it's going to happen. But defense in the first half and in the second half too, for the second week in a row, you really haven't seen it too much, but gave up some big runs. I think they ended up giving up like 170-something rushing yards, which is like a season high. The week before was like 160-something with Kentucky, which was the season high at that point. So last couple games, defense really, especially for a team that kept Alabama, kept Alabama in check. And this is an Alabama team, if you watched them yesterday, destroy LSU with their with the run game. My gosh, Jalen Milroe went off. But to be able to bottle that up and then come out against Kentucky and Mississippi State and give up the rushing yards that they did, it's disappointing. I think a lot of it has to do with the linebackers not being in the right gaps, and so you bust off a couple big plays here or there, and I think that has a lot to do with it, especially with Mississippi State. They run, it's Jeff Lebby. They run what we run typically, and they spread you out. They run tempo, and so you get these big these big runs, and so other than that, defense I thought it looked great. Got pressure on the quarterback. James Pierce got another sack. Boo Carter got an interception. Jenkins got a strip sack. So overall, at this point it's nitpicking because overall your defense still hasn't given up 20 points this season. And to give up 14 points, it's not a terrible Mississippi State team. Offensively anyway. Defensively they're not great. But offensively, that team has put up some points. And so to hold them to 14 I think is a big deal. Again, gave up some big runs, but overall, it's really points per game that matter defensively more than any other stat. So, if you can shore that up, this defense is a championship level defense. So I can't be too hard on them. But in the first half, Sampson did go out with what looked like an ankle injury, and that was scary as well. For as good of a year as he's had, you got really scared. You had him go out. Dante Thornton went out. I think he might have came back in at the end of the game. Nico went out, and so it was. I think everybody was dropping out there, and it got really scary in the second half for a bit. But Dylan Sampson came back in. Second half, Gaston, like I said, he's slinging the ball everywhere. Got a ton of defensive pass interferences, which helped. And I don't even think they were close calls. They were absolutely defensive pass interferences. Mississippi State was running man on our wideouts, and I don't know why you would do that, but they were trying to load the box up, trying not to let us run. And when Gaston would sling it, it was almost. I think we had 3 or 4 in that second half with defensive pass interferences called against them. And so like I said, Sampson returned, and I think in this game, people were hoping. I think the coaches were hoping you didn't have to run him as much because of the Georgia game coming up. But he ended up having to run a lot more. But I think he ended up with like 149 yards, a touchdown. Once again, having just a really good game. And this is against SEC teams, not like what Boise State's playing. And so as good as that other running back is for Boise State, I don't know why Sampson's not getting more love for the Heisman race. I really don't. I think he eclipsed 1,100 rushing yards and like 20 rushing touchdowns so far this year, which is just ridiculous. He's having an amazing year. I think he's had 100 yards in every single game, but I think it might have been the Oklahoma game where he only had 94 yards. So, with Sampson out, and then you have Bishop out, you had Peyton Lewis, and they were forced to play Cameron Seldon, which a lot of people have been wondering where has he been the last few weeks. I think they were planning on redshirting him. I don't know if he's just not developed how they had hoped he would, or if he's planning on transferring. I'm not sure, but I know they were trying. I'm pretty sure they were trying to redshirt him, but they were forced to play him because we'd had 2 running backs go out. So, but it was good to see Sampson come back in, which Cam Seldon played pretty decent. I think he had 1 cut that he missed, but other than that, he did okay. Offensive line, I thought the whole game looked solid. There wasn't anything crazy that I noticed. I think we had 1 hold that was, it's almost expected at this point in these games. But overall, offense looked decent. Nico, Dylan Sampson continue to play at elite levels. If Sampson can just stop fumbling, hopefully, he came back for the second half, but hopefully it's not. at this point, everybody's banged up in the, at this point in the year, but hopefully it's not something that is going to keep him out of a game. But he was able to go in the second half. Hopefully he's able to go for Georgia. I imagine he will be. I imagine Nico will be. Defense once again holds Mississippi State under 20. Tennessee ended up winning 33-14, 19-point win, and you move on. And so good win. Again, a lot of points left out there. And I think that it probably would have been a bigger win if Nico's playing in that second half. But still, I thought Gaston did fine. Sampson was able to go. And real quick, I did want to talk about special teams. Gilbert, 4 for 4 for field goals. That was so awesome to see after that Kentucky game. He bounced back. It was good to see, he saw him kick like a 38-yarder or something like that and start celebrating. It was good to see him kind of get that confidence back. I thought Ross punted the ball well. Tuberville kicked the ball well. I think he had one go out of bounds, but other than that, there were touchbacks. And then Boo Carter got put back there to return punts, and he was not afraid to catch that ball and run. I don't think he called fair catch one time. And he, honestly, I thought he was maybe the best player out there today. Yesterday. He had a really good game defensively, returning the ball. Was able to really flip field position a couple times, get a couple big returns, and so it was good to see him back there. He's going to be special back there. I'm excited to see him catch those punts. So a lot to still cover, and so we've got the SEC race, the playoff race, where we're going to be ranked once the playoff rankings come out. So there's previewing the Georgia game. There is so much more to cover. So look for me to do another video, hopefully Wednesday, to go over all of that. But I wanted to kind of review this game, kind of give my thoughts and kind of do a little summary on how everything went down. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you don't mind, like the video. That really helps me out. Drop a comment down below. How did you feel about the game? What do you think about where Tennessee is getting ranked? I think the AP poll came out while I was recording this. I think they were 6th, which I think Penn State was 4th. Indiana is 5th. Indiana's undefeated. They haven't played anybody. You want to give them above us, that's fine. Penn State hasn't played anybody, and they lost to Ohio State. I don't know how you put them above us, though. So I really thought we'd be 5th at worst, but 6th is fine. It's not going to matter if we win the Georgia game, and then we'll talk about where we're going to be ranked. So a lot to talk about. Like I said, so many topics to cover. Once again, look down below, hit that subscribe button for me, really helps me out. Tell somebody about the channel. Tell somebody about Guy Talk Sports. I'm going to try to keep doing these videos. Life has been busy, and so it's been hard for me to get these done as often as I want, but I'm going to make this one. So thank you so much. Go Vols, and we'll see you next time.